Well, hello. This is Jeff Herdman, E.D.S. Inc. Shandon. Welcome. We want to thank you for your viewership. We appreciate the new subscribers that we have. We have 102 now, and we deeply appreciate that. Thank you for your support, and we hope to continue making content that you'll enjoy and that we'll have fun making as well. I wanted to make a few comments thanks to my son. He's the one that does all the editing with this. You might have noticed some of the cartoons and stuff in the previous videos. He does all that stuff. He fixes up the things that I miss up, and spends a lot of time trying to get these videos so they're somewhat nice for you to view. So I want to thank my son Zechariah, who does all the editing for this. He spends quite a few hours every week going through all the video that I shoot when I'm shooting it, and then putting it all together into an episode that you might enjoy. And so I want to really thank him for that, and I hope you enjoy his little input there, the little caricatures that he does and that sort of thing, some of his artistic talent that he's using in his editing. I really appreciate. One of the reasons that we started putting stuff on YouTube is so that he could develop some of those skills. And so he's working hard at it, and he's enjoying it, and I hope you enjoy it as well. And for me, I just enjoy working. I like making things with my hands, and I don't mind showing you all what I do, even when I make mistakes and what have you. Well, I've got a little bit of stuff that I'm going to go ahead and do here. We're going to show you a few things that have been changing in the shop. We're slowly making progress and getting organized. You might see behind me, I've got some of my levels and stuff hung over here. On this side, I have a lot of my tooling for my lathe are now on the wall. We got some shelves up there. And in the back side, behind the mill, we've got more things hanging on the walls and more organization going on. When you look at the milling shop, oh my goodness, it looks like a mess. But slowly but surely, we're getting it organized. And we don't have a whole lot of time, so we make do with what we have. I think I've mentioned this one before, once before anyway. I have a friend that I've known since I was a teenager. He's about 10 years older than me, maybe 15 years older than me, and he's retired now. And he was looking for a little bit of something to do, and he was looking at going to work for Target. The problem with that is they tie you down. You have to be there all the time on their hours and what have you. And I said, well, you come on in here and you do whatever you'd like to do whenever you'd like to do it on your time. I'll just show you what I'd like to get done. And he's been steadily coming in here during the week and hanging things up and putting things away, and it works out for him, it works out for me, and because I sure don't have the time. And so we're getting it all done, and so I really appreciate his work on this and getting this all done. I haven't asked him if I could use his name on the video, so I'm not going to tell you who he is, but he's been a big help in getting things organized, and I've been so busy with work, it's just been unbelievable the last few months. The summer months typically are our busier months because the school jobs all take place, and with the school projects you have to get them done in a 3-month period, and you get several of those, and it can be pretty difficult to get everything done along with your normal workload. So we've had those, and I'm pretty much just been catching up ever since the summer, trying to get caught back up with my other jobs and that sort of thing. So I'm sorry that I haven't been able to shoot as much video. I'm sorry that you missed some of the content, and I'm also disappointed in my ability to shoot video. I'll try to improve on that, give you guys a little bit better view of things, and we'll work on our becoming a little bit better with that. There's several times that either the camera ran out of memory or it ran out of battery. I didn't notice, and well, you didn't get the view of what I was doing, and that's disappointing, I'm sure, and I'm sorry for that. But we'll try to keep working on it. I'll get better as I go, and my son will keep hounding me until I get down there and get it done halfway decent. Wanted to show you one of the things that I'm up to is we've been working on that hinge for the machine, the milling machine, the Ajax milling machine, and we made some progress. We made our plate that we're going to mount it to so we can put it into the lathe, so we can bore it and ream it, and now I need to make some clamps for that. I purchased some from McMaster Carr, but they didn't really work out too well. So I'm just going to make some up, and what I'll do is I'll bring you forward here. I'll show you the drawing that I have in mind, and it'll be kind of a fun venture for me because I've never done anything like this. So we'll all learn together, and maybe you can, if you have any experience in doing what I'm looking at doing here, maybe you can give me some tips. And at any rate, let me bring you in here to my block, and I'll show you the picture of what I'm going to build. Okay, so here it is. Hopefully you can see that well. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do a dovetail. I've got some aluminum, some 2 by 3 inch block, and I'm going to put a dovetail into that block, and then I'm going to make another part that will insert into that dovetail and be adjusted, as this drawing shows, by an adjusting pin. So that's going to be one of the things that I'm going to try to get done here, and in the next couple of weeks, that will bring us to a point to where we can actually put that block of steel on the lathe and start doing some milling. And these will come in handy because that way I can center things on that plate that I made, that fixture plate that goes in the lathe. I'll be able to adjust it back and forth, up and down, and what have you with these clamps that I'm making. They're adjustable clamps. They're not meant to hold it in there as much as they are because I've got other clamps that will hold it down onto the plate. But this will be more of an adjustment sideways, up and down, because once you get that on that plate and you have to fine tune it and you loosen your supports, then it wants to fall off the lathe, and so it becomes very difficult to adjust things. So I thought if I had a couple of these clamps and I could just fine tune it here, loosen one side, tighten the other side, lift it, whatever I have to do, then that might make it go a little bit easier and accomplish my task more easily. So this will be something that we'll be working on here. If you have any ideas, or if you've done something like this before, you might make a comment on that. You can also email us at, what is our email? I think it's E.D.S. Inc. Shandon at erdmandoor.com, but I could be wrong. I'll have to, maybe my son can post when he edits this, he can post our email if you have any ideas that might work for this. So I don't know if I've ever showed you my surface plate before. I've had this sitting underneath a piece of plywood for a while and decided I'd go ahead and clean her up a little bit since I've got things mounted on the wall and what have you. So let me bring you back. So anyway, I thought I'd go ahead and pull this up and clean it off tonight. And as you can see behind me, things are looking a lot better. So one of the other things that I'm going to do, and I may tape that tonight if I don't get too tired or whatever, I may be trying to do some threading on the Hindi for the first time. I've installed actually I didn't install it, I've mounted a 4-jaw chuck into the 3-jaw chuck that's on the machine. machine already. I don't have a way of mounting this jaw directly onto the machine, so I just mounted it within the 3-jaw chuck, and I checked its face. I indicated its face, and it's flat on the face with the machine. So now with a 4-jaw, I can adjust it, whatever I'm putting into it, up, down, sideways, whatever. And so I'm going to go ahead and probably try to do some threading with it now. And I've got a couple of handles I have to make, and maybe you can watch that. I'll try to do some video on that as well. So those are a couple of things that I got coming up that we can get done, and you can watch and enjoy. So we'll get on with it. Thank you. Well, we've got a little bit of work to do tonight. What we're going to be doing is we're going to try to use the Handy lathe to do some threading. Now this will take a little bit of precision on my part, I guess you could say, in that I don't have a thread dial on my lathe. So I'm going to be using the reversing lever to, as the cutter approaches the end of its cut, to lift that lever so it reverses as I pull back on the carriage, cross carriage, so that the cutter clears, and then pull back and then start all over again. So it's going to take a little bit on my part to get done, but we're going to see if I can't make that happen. So I'd like you to join my little journey here. First off, I'm going to show you what I'm doing and what I'm going to try to accomplish tonight. What I have is I have a 1/2 inch 13 shaft that I need to thread, and of course this gives you your threads for a 1/2 inch bolt, American Standard. So we determined that it's 13 threads per inch. So what I have to do then is set my Handy lathe up for that cut. So when we look over here on this plate, it helps us to see that 13 threads per inch, I'd have to set it on number 2. So this lever here is set on number 2. And then we have to have this bottom lever lined up on this thread of 13. And so then the head and the shaft will be turning at the proper speed together, and I'll be able to properly cut that. Now, another thing that I've done is I've set this stair gauge up, so when it hits the 0, that's the end of my cut. So I'm going to have to make sure that as I make my cut, I'm able to pull off before I hit the end of that. You can see here that I've cut a shoulder on this, so I'm going to stop my thread just before that shoulder, and that gives me a little bit of space to pull back my cross feet and make my cut. Now I've already run this through once so I could test my threads, and I've got my little Starrett thread gauge, 473. Oops, I can't get that into the camera, can I? So we're going to go ahead and we'll check that. If you notice, let's see if I can get a good picture of that. Hopefully you can get a lot of light on this. But if you notice, I'm right on, the pitch of my thread is just right on. So 13 threads per inch. So now I have to just figure out how I can time myself properly. I've done some practice runs testing myself. And so basically I'm going to feed the machine this direction. And as soon as I hit the end of that, I'll yank up on this shaft, and it'll reverse the, excuse me, the carriage back this way. While I'm doing that, I'll back this out. And once I get it back, then I'll turn it back into where I want it to be, and start my next thread, start a forward motion again. So anyway, that's what my intent is. Let me get the camera set up and out of the way, and we'll see if I can't do this. One of the things that I failed to mention is that I've actually cut this part down to the desired diameter. If you look at the, and that's why I brought the camera up to the machinist handbook here, not for the thread so much, but for the outside diameter of the part. If you look at your machinist handbook, there's a basic major diameter, and that's 0.50. Okay, that's half an inch basically. But you don't really want to cut your bolt at that dimension. You want to go a little bit under so that it works in where you're threading it into, whatever, not your nut or whatever you're threading it into. In this case, I'm using it as a handle on an Oliver jigsaw, so not scroll saw rather, and so I need to have it so that it will be threaded to fit that machine's half-inch 13 threads. So when I'm looking at it, the minor, what you want to look at is your minor diameter, and you can be anywhere in between there. The minor diameter is 0.04167. So, whoops, I'm sorry, that's for your interior threads. For an exterior thread is 0.4056. So, so your major diameter is 0.50. Your minor diameter, outside diameter for exterior threads, is 0.4056. So if you're going to be cutting threads, you want to take a look at that so you make sure that you get the right diameter of the part that you want to cut. And it's all right here in the machinist handbook. So you want to look that stuff up before you start cutting. So we'll go ahead and I'll reposition the camera onto the threaded item, and you can see me either go or no go. You'll see either a positive result or you'll see me fail completely. So let's take a look. Just another thing to let you know, this is not really the right way to do this. I should have a tailstock in here, and I should have this center drilled and be using that with this item. Since this is my first time, I wanted to have all the space I could have. Now that means that this thing might flex a little bit on me and cause me some grief that way. I'm hoping that as I don't have a whole lot of rod extending past the chuck head, that won't happen, and that I'll be able to get a clean enough thread for what I'm using it for. So anyway, that being said, let's go ahead and give her a try. Okay, we've gotten back to it. We've been cutting the threads again, and I bent the end of this slightly, and so that's not good, but it seems to be doing some threading here, so I reset this, but this part of the shaft is set right, but this has got a little bit of well, it's a little bit bent. So anyway, we're going to try to finish it up. I'm going to keep on going and see what I can't do to make her work. And well, that's about it. Bummer, but that's the way it goes. The worst case scenario, I cut this off, finish it down, and do it one more time. So we'll see what happens. Well, that was a bummer. Another one. What I've got, I can't, my 4-jaw doesn't fit in here, so I've got a 4-jaw in a 3-jaw, and I took too much of a bite and it just messed it all up. That's all. So there we go again. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that 2 crashes tonight. What I had is I had my smaller 4-jaw, I think it's an 8-inch in my 3-jaw chuck, and when I cut too much off that sucker, it just popped that right out of the 3-jaw. So despite the fact that I've crashed twice tonight with that, when I pulled that rod out, although being bent, the thread was just right. Because I hit the floor, so I had to take it over to the grinder and dress up the ends of it, but it thread all the way into my machine. So let me take you over there. I'll show you the Oliver and the handle on it. Now I have to pull it back out, and I have to thread the opposite side as well to put there's going to be a little end on the handle, and so I've got to get that done. And but despite the crashes, it was a success. So a little bit of entertainment for you tonight anyway. So let me take the camera off. I'll take you over there and I'll show it to you. I might have been filming some stuff while I was moving the camera, but at any rate, here's the handle. I've got it tied on there now. Went in one side, and you can see the back side of it out the other. Thread all the way through. So I'm happy with that. So now all I have to do is thread this in, and I'll put a little knob on this one, and then this little part will be done. Then I'll probably take it and I'll buff it up. What I did with this handle here when I first got the machine, everything on this thing was all rusted. This was, in fact, I might post some pictures of this thing in its condition when I got it. They're on Vintage Machine under my my machines. The process of rebuilding this thing. But what I did is I took this off, I buffed it all up, and I put a clear coat on it to avoid getting rust on it again. And I'll probably do the same thing with this. I'll take and I'll shine it all up, buff it out, and then put a clear coat on it so it looks nice and shiny. I had, before I'd had just a standard bolt in here, half-inch bolt that I used as a lever on it. So it'll be nice to get a real handle on it, and I made a little bit longer than my bolt was, give it a little bit more, well, there you go, give some more leverage on that for that adjustment. So at any rate, that's what I got achieved tonight. I'm very happy with the results, even though we crashed a couple of times. I looked at my tip, and my tip is fine, which kind of surprises me. But the tip wasn't cracked, and everything was good on it. So the end of the story, it worked. And it's a kind of a pain. You have to, when you don't have a dial indicator on your machine like this one doesn't have. It should have had it, I suppose, but I went and bought one on eBay, and it wasn't the right for my threads here. It wasn't the right one. So and this one has never been outfitted with one by the looks of it. So I may take the one I have and make a gear that will fit this thread, same diameter and same thread, and so I can do a little bit better job of chasing my threads. But I've got a lot of things to do, so that'll be down the road a ways. So anyway, the end of the story, things turned out well. Didn't break anything permanently, and my 4-jaw chuck's still okay. No worse for wear. It was an old one anyway. And this was actually on a spindle that was for free turning. It was really, it had been mounted for the Monarch device, Monarch lathe, and it was designed to mount into the tailstock and free spin. So I pulled off that plate, and I just put it into the chucks here, and it worked until I tried to take too much of a bite out of it. So at any rate, done for the evening. I'm heading home, get some supper. Let me show you that tip. You can see there's no, let's see if I can find it. I don't even see it. See, there's my chuck. Oh, there we go. There's the tip. And you can see there's no chips in it. Looks really, really fine. So, didn't ruin anything there. Well, thanks for joining me again this evening. You don't want to do what I just did, but it is possible to thread just using your reverse handle, and you have to back out your cutting tool at precisely the time you get to the end of your thread as you reverse the machine, and then come back in. And where I was having a problem is I was having a hard time. I'd turn that dial twice instead of once or something like that, and so it took a deeper cut than I intended, and that messed me up twice. So I have to do more practice if I'm going to use that method, and so that I can make the right cut without knocking the thing off the machine. At any rate, all in all, it worked, and it's not, I mean, that wouldn't have been for a machine, for a main component in a machine or anything like that, but it did work, threaded the thing, so you can, by syncing the motion of the travel and backing off your cutting tool and then resetting it and starting again without stopping your travel. You have to reverse the travel, but you cannot stop it. If you stop it, it loses its place for the new thread. So you have to reverse it in motion, and then it comes back and hits that thread just where it's supposed to be. So anyway, thanks for joining us. If you like this content, you'll probably have a good laugh. My son will probably do something really silly with it. So if you'd like to subscribe, then press the subscribe button. If you like the content, press the little button there with a thumbs up. If you don't like it, put a thumbs down. I deserve that tonight, but that's the way it goes. We'll still learning. So thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time on E.D.S. Inc. Shandon.